I feel a little insecure to be talking because I've not been in the dorm world for like 10 years. When I was drafted for this panel, I said, I've not been in the dorm world for 10 years. And they said, that's fine. So we have a little small group of college students, and right now in CSU at Utah, we're planning and starting to dream how we could get back into the University of Utah. So I will be telling you war stories from like 10, 15 years ago, because God did something pretty neat at CSU. When I was a freshman, there were literally 3 or 4 students at CSU that were part of the Summit View Church. And that team, one of our guys got raised up as a pastor, and he was given the job of really driving and I think the thing he provided for us at a pastoral level was he gave us vision. And so I was a sophomore RA in the dorms. My sister Mandy was a freshman. And so we both moved into one dorm. And then there was this team of 5 or 6 young 20-somethings that said, we're going to be missionaries to the dorms. And so those 5 or 6 of us, plus my sister and I, plus our pastor, we would meet each week through the summer and we would pray. It's been a reoccurring theme so we'd get up on the mountains and we'd look out over the campus, and each week we'd be praying that God would do something amazing. And being an RA, it's a great financial room and board thing, but it did allow me some authority and some doorways there. And so I was the RA of this dorm floor, and my sister was a freshman in the same dorm. And so we mapped out just practical things. That first week or two, there's all these people just show up in the dorms and they don't know anybody. And so the frats descend and they're moving guys in and inviting them to their frat parties. And all the clubs show up and they put their booths all over the place, and everybody's like, hey, join us. And so we mapped out a week or so of real deliberate social events, going, all right, Saturday, we're going to be moving people in all day. And Sunday, we're going to be moving people in. And Monday night, we're all going to go hiking in the mountains. And Tuesday night, we're going to have a pasta party. And Wednesday night, we're going to go to a drive-in. So we laid out a real clear social schedule. That first week, all the freshmen, nobody has a lot of homework. Nobody knows anybody. And so my sister and I are there. We've got these 5 or 6 single people that are missionaries in the dorms. And we all knew our plan. And so it was tonight at 6, we're all going to play ultimate Frisbee. And so we're just inviting everybody we can off of all our floors and at meals. And I think of a guy like Rich. He was unbelievable. He's doing the 40, 50 hours at HP as an engineer. Then he pulls off his shirt, puts on a T-shirt, comes walking into Newsom Hall, and he was on the dorm so much guys assumed he was going to college. And he was getting to know all these guys on the floor. And so we're going, hey guys, we're all playing ultimate. And I walk outside, and I'm like passing out flyers in the dorms to do ultimate, and I walk out there, there's 30 freshman dudes playing ultimate together. I was like, sweet. So we all play ultimate for a couple hours, and then we all go grab pizza at Old Chicago's. And then the next night, we invite a bunch of people to a pasta party at like Rich's house. And so there was a real deliberate social invite everybody. And we were totally up front. We're all part of the Rock. We're all part of Summit View. We're all going on a hike. And everybody's like, I don't know anybody, and everybody's scared, and they're a freshman and they're out of their element. So somebody invited me on a hike, and so there was no ulterior, there was no like, don't talk about Jesus till they're part of the group. I mean, it was just, we're a church, but we're inviting people to all these social events for that whole week. And then as school starts to increase, we decreased that social schedule a little bit. We kind of settled into a weekly small group meeting, a weekly college group meeting, and then church. And so we were rolling that schedule week to week. So I would encourage prayer. I would encourage some sort of strong social plan. I would encourage the off-campus people to really focus around. And a few funny stories. My sister is very good at inviting people to events, and so she invited a good chunk of our entire dorm to our. So at church, we mapped out a 4 or 5 week outreach series. So it was like the hate people, or questions about God, or my favorite sins. It was some sort of evangelistic, sort of culturally engaging 4 or 5 week series, and we'd be inviting people to that series. Hey, our pastor's going to talk on why God hates homosexuals, or why he doesn't hate homosexuals. And we'd have something kind of edgy that we'd be passing out, promoting in the dorms. And so I'm there Sunday morning in my dorm room, and I'm like shaving and getting ready to go to church, and this guy walks in who's on my floor, who's one of the freshmen on my floor. He's like getting all cleaned up, ready to go. I'm like, what are you up to this morning, Brandon? He's like, I'm going to church at Summit View. You should go. And I was like, you know God's doing something neat when a lost freshman on your floor is inviting you back to your same church. You're like, this is cool. But my sister, she's just plowing through the lines, handing out, hey, they were doing a 4-week series on questions. So there was some sort of provocative series at church, the social stuff, the prayer stuff. And God blessed, and we went from that team of 6 to about 60 in like 1 week. Because God just blessed and brought in some freshmen that were Christians that joined us. Some lost people got saved. And one of the gals walks up to the pastor and I, and she's like, I love your college group. It's so amazing. And she walks away, and he turns to me and goes, little does she know, 90% of the college group just joined yesterday. And so through the fall, we would do, just because I think you want to have that presence on campus, we would do a morning, we'd do like a once a week 7 a.m. prayer meeting in the dorms, inviting anybody from the dorms to come pray. We would do a noon Bible study in a chapel on campus. And then, I would encourage people that have the ability to get the RA thing. It allows you to program, because you have to, as an RA, you had to do like a program once a month, some sort of educational thing. And so I had to do that. It was my job requirement. And so I tried to think, like, what's a way we can use this as an outreach tool? And so a few that came to mind were we did a debate. There was a very outspoken atheist professor on campus, Dr. Spear. And so he and the pastor, we had a formal debate, and we chalked all over campus. We promoted, I mean, it's a Does God Exist debate. My hall directors loved that because it's a debate on the existence of God. It's a professor. And then a different month, we had a program where there was a show that was popular on MTV at that point. It was like you had like a celebrity and a doctor answering questions on sex. And so we did like, I don't even remember the name of it, but we did some sort of like sex panel, and we had a radio DJ, and we had our pastor, and then we had a doctor from the health center. So I'm bringing in all the elements that the RA world wants. You've got like diversity in health and religion, and so the college students, we promoted it through the whole dorm. There's 200 or 300 college students sitting there, and they're asking totally inappropriate questions and crude questions, and I was like, oh boy. So just passing these questions down the line, and it was blush-inducing. But right in the midst of that is a doctor, a radio DJ, and our pastor, and he's answering questions. And so I think the RA angle is a great thing to use. Yeah, those are some of the things that stand out to me. The prayer, the focusing on the one dorm, the off-campus missionaries, the week of social stuff. And then God did something amazing, and those 60 people were there in that one dorm. And then that next year we did what you guys have talked about, like being intentional. So there was about 4 or 5 that said, all right, we're going over to this dorm. And then 4 or 5 said, we're going to go over to this dorm. And so we spread out to 4 or 5 dorms and repeated the process the next year. But now you've got some momentum because you got a team in 3 or 4 different dorms, and they're doing the same social calendar. And now we're cross-pollinating because we know, well, we're all going to be playing Ultimate. So I pull 10 guys off my floor, and there's 10 coming off that floor. Now there's like 60 of us playing Ultimate out there. And so it's a neat thing. God bless that intentional outreach. I agree with Burke. We can't lose that. I feel like there's a beachhead you form with the freshman class. And so there was an intentional effort to, some people, it is a sacrifice financially. And after a while, when you're 20, 21, going, I would rather not have drunk freshmen throwing up in the bathroom at like 2 in the morning. But you do those things, you invest those years. And so I was in the dorms all 5 years as an undergrad, an RA 4 years. And by the end of it, God is blessed. And there was literally, I think, 400 or 500 college students that were part of this thing. And a lot had moved off campus, but there was a ton on campus. And so it's being intentional,